Dragon's Storm is a 2004 made-for-TV fantasy film written by Patrick Phillips and Sam Wells, with Stephen Furst directing. The film follows a hunter hired to track down and kill a handful of dragons that have attacked 2 kingdoms. While that's happening, there's also court intrigue, as royal politics threaten to tear everyone down. Also, this may remind people of a little-known RPG that I'm sure none of you have played. I know sci-fi originals don't come recommended by most, but not only do I have a soft spot for them, but this film would also be one of the most viewed sci-fi originals, with over 3 million viewers during its initial broadcast. Really, that's the most I can sum up the film without getting into it. The closest thing I can remember seeing that was similar to this was Outlander. I recall that film being pretty good, though it was more science fiction than straight-up fantasy. So let's see if the dragons can't strike a spark in their home territory. Well, the film starts in space with meteors, so maybe this film is more sci-fi than I thought. The meteors crash on ye old Farmer Brown's land, and like any good nameless victim, he pokes it with a stick. Honestly, while the CGI can be hit or miss, the fact they have a decent amount of practical effects is honestly a few points in the film's favor. Also, they set people on fire. That will always be cool. The farmer didn't have much cattle, so onto the fort, which looked pretty solid. I'm sure I could pick out plenty of historical inaccuracies, but nothing too crazy. And while it's a bit dull, there's still more color popping out here than in Napoleon. Fleeing the fort, Messenger, played by Vlado Nikolov, makes it to the castle. Of course, screaming about dragons isn't all that believable. Honestly, the massive smoke signal is what waves him in more than anything.
Dragons.
Yeah.
Hop, hop. If you're playing games, I'll have your nuggets for lunch.
This takes us to King Fastrad, played by John Rhys Davies, who many of you may recognize as Gimli from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Huh, I recall him being shorter. Anyways, he doesn't like the messenger's story, and while he won't shoot the messenger, he will call him a spy and prepare to chop his head off. Wait a minute. Guards are aggressive to the guy who escaped a dragon attack. The appearance of a dragon stops his execution. If this guy was the protagonist, this would begin to resemble something. Anyways, with their fort destroyed, Fastrad and a handful of his men and Theldag, played by Tony Amendola, are forced to flee towards a neighboring king. Someone is stalking them. Someone is stealthing amongst them. It's a fucking Nord stealth archer in fur armor.
I serve no man. What are you doing in my wood?
Your woods! These are my woods!
Actually, they're King Wensbury's woods.
Okay, this came out long before Skyrim, but damn if it doesn't have some similarities. Well, for the price of a ring, he leads him to King Wensbury, played by John Hanson. However, the hunter, Silas, played by Maxwell Caulfield, won't go in. Turns out he's a bit of a brigand, and not one of Wensbury's men. Well, all's fair in love and war, so while the kings talk, Wensbury's tomboy daughter happens upon Silas in an honestly not that hard to explain situation. I mean, the giant claw should make it rather obvious he didn't do this. Well, hero's journey and all that.
It does appear that you're going to see the king after all.
So, Fastrad gets his ring back and Silas is brought before the court to explain what was found.
A giant beak. But to me, it most closely resembles a quill.
Yeah, so not only are these space dragons, they also attack like flood range forms. Let's just be happy they don't glow pink and explode. Well, the king brings up all the taxes Silas owes, so do the job and they get wiped. Or rot in prison. And probably die of dragons later. Honestly, not the hardest way to get rid of back taxes. Paired up with the king's alchemist Remagar, played by Richard Wharton, the two are an adorable buddy cop duo.
So it's just me and the old man?
You're not my first choice either.
But they'll need more, so after a bar fight test, they end up with the Oriental trader Ling, played by Woo Young Park, and the ballista engineer Nasa, played by Iskra Angelova. The latter is fine with revenge for motivation, while Ling takes some persuasion.
A sign of vitality, virility.
Its brand is on many other items I trade.
I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime job, so take a once-in-a-lifetime payment. A few extras, Theldag and the King's daughter, Medina, played by Angel Boris Reed, rounds out our cast. This whole time, Fastred has been plotting. Since Silas heard mention of the plot to take Wensbury's castle, Fastred has Theldag join to assassinate him. This is kinda Dark Brotherhood-ish. Well, look on the bright side. They got the numbers, the weapons, and the experience to pull this off.
It smells as good as any wolf or mountain lion. Of course, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I've never hunted a single thing in my life.
All while being led by this guy. He's credited as Gelmaro and played by Ivalo Geraskov. I'm not sure why Silas isn't leading since he was the one hired, but given that Gelmaro has no character, I don't think he's long for our tale. Come sunlight and they set the trap into motion. Also, while it does have some off moments here and there, the CGI doesn't look bad, especially given the time it came out and the fact this is a made-for-TV product. What is looking bad is Gelmaro's health. Turns out he's a plant type. Well, that's one of ours, so we better even the score.
Fire!
In need of a new leader, the princess volunteers Silas, who turns it down. I have to refuse the call. It's what we protagonists call the hero's journey. No time for arguing as the remaining four come in. Turns out the vengeful engineer is running more on bloodthirst, as it's only the third time she's using the oh-so-advanced ballista, and its malfunction. Well, it's a good thing the remaining three fled, or they might be in trouble. Speaking of... wait. Is he just wearing a suit? I mean, Silas looks like he's wearing a very thin hoodie. You know, I'll take the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. worked, and they at least look like they're wearing brigandines. I'll take what I can get. Besides, news came in about the casualty.
A man was lost.
Oh, no. Not the hunter.
No. One of mine.
Back with our band of merry heroes, it's clear this Skyrim playthrough is modded. If we hung around another moment, he'd see if the royal drapes matched the court curtains.
How's the princess? Thirsty.
Meanwhile, back at the castle, Fastred conspires with a third party to take it all. Oh, and he's been writing letters to Theldag, threatening him with his wife. One failed assassination attempt, and the alchemist, along with the Oriental, hatch a plan to fill the quills with gunpowder.
Western science has brought many things. Whatever came out of the East?
Silk.
Well, technically yes, but silk as we know it today, being super thin and soft, came about when the Romans would reweave the silk into a more modern and recognizable appearance. I just wanted to put that out there. Anyways, they have explosive rounds now. And finding the creature's cave, the munitions proved super effective. However, the dragons are equally clever, so next time the ballista malfunctions... Well, that leaves plan B. Throw shit. Oh, and we still have an extra. While this has been going on, the alchemist decided to loot the cave. Turns out he side-classed into a thief, and they let him out of sight. Managing to make it a bit with the egg he's eventually chomped down on. But that isn't high enough. The body count must rise. Wounded and delirious from the hit, Theldag attempts to finally complete his kill. Good thing too, because Fastred was running out of hearts to use for his Black Sacrament. Well, sadly, they don't redeem his character, despite him being pretty likable over the film. At least he managed to turn on Fastred at the last minute, exposing his plan to overthrow his neighbor king. Bit late, as the signal's been given, and damn if the bandit leader doesn't sound like a bandit leader.
No need to spill blood in here. We already have your king in check.
With it all appearing to be checkmate, what will our heroes do? Hand over the dragon egg with a nice letter.
All your followers who will faithfully serve their new ruler, King Fastred. Oh, that's really nice.
This film is unironically super charming. So under the cover of nightfall, they attack into the courtyard. The fighting isn't great, but it's far from the worst I've seen. There's even a draw cut. Well, Mama Dragon shows up and torches all the main players on the antagonist team. Now, throughout the film, the alchemist has made mention of how a very skilled archer could take out a dragon with an arrow. Given all the strange connections of Skyrim, I think there's only one way to end this fight. An arrow kill cam. This is the fucking Skyrim film. They even kinda had a Whiterun fight and about as many soldiers as Skyrim had. So all's well that ends well. The hero got the girl, he got a new bow, and he's non-taxable for life. Honestly, the one meteor hurtling towards Earth isn't all that bad, given how many they were able to take out over the course of the film. Made on an estimated budget of $1 million, and according to John Rhys Davies, was shot around 21 days. It would have a TV premiere January 12, 2004, with its final appearance being a video premiere October 6th of that year in Spain. The working title for the film would be Dragon Quest, but this was dropped in favor of Dragon Storm. Many critics at the time didn't look favorably on the film, from citing poor acting to complaining about the CGI. It seems that some wanted to compare it to Lord of the Rings due to John Rhys Davies' involvement. I have to say this film is simply a joy and a half to experience. I've gone through some real trash and some low-effort garbage. I've reviewed films with massive budgets that had nothing to show, except for possible embezzlement. With Dragon Force, I get a competently made, low-budget fantasy film that manages to hit just above its weight. Yes, the dragon CGI isn't great in all of cinema history, but accounting for all the factors, it's well beyond the norm. The sets look surprisingly good, especially given the budget, and above all, it manages to be a fun film, which is what this type of movie aims to be. It has fun lines, action, and just enough love given to the characters that you care about most of them. I'm planning to go through a few low-budget fantasy films this month, and I do hope the rest manage to meet the bar this one set. I might even get around to looking at that other film I mentioned earlier. I think it's time I storm out of here before it starts to drag on.
This is the very first complimentary gift basket that I've ever received. I think I should be allowed to enjoy